My office has not received more calls about any other issue since I have been a congresswoman than this one. We actually went with the lawyer of the family.
You went to El Salvador. Now you're saying it's not about him? Of course it's about him.
Due process.
You went to El Salvador for a political stunt.
Let's hop right into a couple clips of Democratic Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari on Fox News having to shut down Laura Ingraham on these unconstitutional deportations. So as always, first, leave us a like if you can. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. And we'll hop right into the debate with some fact checks ready.
You traveled to all the way to El Salvador, and there are obviously huge problems in Arizona right now. There's huge problems still with dealing with smuggling of drugs and individuals and all the carnage that left behind. But you went to El Salvador to basically make a political point. I mean, Van Halen had just been there and just checked on the individual in question, and he was okay. You would admit that he was okay, correct?
So we actually went with the lawyer of the family, who was very, very grateful. The family themselves put out a statement to say that they are grateful that we went because they are worried that the president is trying to brush this case under the rug. The president made very clear in the Oval Office he has no plans to follow the Supreme Court, and so we are not going to be the last ones to go to El Salvador and demand that the United States government take action. My constituents asked me to do this. Over the last 2 weeks, there's no issue that we have gotten more calls about, more messages about than this issue.
This is spot on. And I love that the MAGA line has become largely, oh, why do you guys keep checking on the man? We disappeared to a country a court ruled he couldn't be sent to because of danger for his life, where we also did so by mistake and without due process. Sounds like a political stunt. I mean, it sounds like Congress standing up for the Constitution, for due process. Ever heard of it? Does it matter to you? And as she said, their constituents as well, because most Americans are not abject racists and very clearly see this for what it is. They're not in a cult and are scared of, if you're taking this person's due process for no reason, maybe you're going to take mine, and, claiming illegal doesn't make it okay. The lawyer wasn't able to contact this man. He was moved 3 times since the last senator visited, and I can bet your ass that his wife, his 3 children that MAGA pulled him apart from, don't think it's a political stunt. I bet they would really love to care we'll find out where he is. And I mean, even the conservative Supreme Court, and I know Trump's dumbass on this.
I know a little bit about the Supreme Court and how that works there. And, the word facilitate was, well, again, we'll see how this all works out. And I don't know how it's ultimately going to come down. But I am very interested in Democrats caring about due process for illegal aliens. What process do you think is still due an individual who 2 courts found had reasonable belief to believe he had an affiliation with MS-13, who his wife initially said had scratched her and caused a bruising on her body? What process would make you feel like the Constitution and our framers' understanding of it would be fulfilled?
So, Laura, you and I can disagree on, this individual in particular. I'm not here to really advocate for one person. That needs to happen in court. No evidence has actually ever been presented.
You went to El Salvador. Now you're saying it's not about him? Of course it's about him.
Due process.
You went to El Salvador for a political stunt.
Yeah, it's really simple, right? Democrats make it about the policies. Republicans, MAGA, makes it about the politics. And that's an important difference. Democrats are making this about due process, not Abrego Garcia. I know the party that showed off the kid with brain injuries to spew and spread anti-vax nonsense might not understand that, but it's something Americans are afraid of, and it can be separate from the person, from the thing that you want, what moral considerations for, especially when hot mics have Trump saying he would love to do it to homegrowns. I would love for him to expand on that. What does he mean by homegrowns? What would he love to do to them exactly? Abrego was picked up on a warrantless arrest. He was deported without notice. He was sent to a terrorist holding center in El Salvador, where he's probably going to spend, the rest of his life? More people leave in coffins than leave on their own free will from that prison. He's first required a notice of deportation and an opportunity to stand in front of an immigration judge prior to his removal. Second, they would need to substantiate the whole MS-13 terrorist claim to warrant him being in a terrorist holding center, neither of which has happened. That's the due process he's missing. Glad I could help.
My office has not received more calls about any other issue since I have been a congresswoman than this one, tariffs being the second one, and the lack of real logical economic policy. But the issue of due process, No, these
Yeah,
are
the
and
economy
when we had a
and all
town hall the other night,
secondary.
this is the issue.
Yeah. All right, take
and
a
the
breath.
economy is a mess
All
as
right,
well,
before we
unfortunately,
go-
under this administration.
Yeah.
So
Before we go, Congresswoman, also in Maryland, I know American citizens and crimes committed against them might not be a top priority. It is for this show. An illegal alien from Guatemala was just charged with his girlfriend's murder in Maryland, same state, of course, Mr. Abrego Garcia is from. She was missing for 2 weeks, mother of 2 young kids. Police found her buried in a forest. Do you know about this story? Do your constituents care about those victims? And do you intend on calling that family, since Maryland residents are obviously a concern in some way, shape, or form for you and all the people of your state?
Fox News is doing its greatest hits of propaganda here, like, oh, you're defending something that happened to a migrant? Well, what about this totally unrelated migrant who did a crime? Condemn him! Say migrant's bad! Like, the problem is Laura Ingraham just really isn't even smart enough to do it in a convincing way. So she's just kind of getting rolled here in this conversation, and she needs some saving grace, right? People are stressed about so many things under Trump in just 90 days. Their retirement, the economy in terms of jobs, the economy in terms of prices, their social safety net like Medicaid and Social Security, and yes, our constitutional protections like due process, like free speech, as we see permanent residents deported for speech, student visas deported for beliefs, immigrants disappeared without due process. But yeah, nobody's scared of any of this. You just say illegal and they all understand. What they really care about is undocumented migrants and their crime wave, something that is a non-issue, happens far less than crime from U.S. citizens. And again, MAGA doesn't hold that same standard for who they have as president. So it's like undocumented immigrant crime or constitutional protections. I think constitutional protections are a bigger issue.